We've also got a question here from Maloon, the absolute homie. Thank you for writing in, Maloon. He's asked, what's one indie, like a small game not from the big publishers, and one non-indie you're excited for this year, not out yet? He says, Holston and Black Myth Wukong for me. Check them out. Now, after he said Holston, I'd never heard of it before. The comment section underneath him was literally just people replying, being like, fire emojis, Holston. So there's obviously something here. I haven't actually looked at it yet, Maloon, so apologies. But let's go back to the question. Spence, back to you. What's one indie, like a small game, from not from the big publishers, and one non-indie you're excited for this year?
Sure. So the indie, I don't think I was actually initially excited for it, but the more I've had time to think about it, the more I kind of am. And that's The Plucky Squire. And I remember thinking it looked bad or something, but then as soon as I saw the book mechanic, I was kind of like, ooh, you know what? And now I don't know, it's grown on me. It looks very cute. The way the gameplay functions is cool, and the way the story progresses through this book. It's just an interesting take on a game that I'm sure has been done before, but hasn't been done in a long time. So it's just nice to see, so I'm excited for that.
Great choice. Absolutely great choice. But when we come down to your big game, what are you going for?
Most of the big games of this year I'm excited for are already out. The game I'm probably excited for, really, just because I've always got the original on my mind, the casting of Frank Stone. Because I'm always thinking about Dead by Daylight. And I'm thinking, if we get an actual storytelling game in that universe, God, that must be sick. I have no idea how it works. I've tried to ignore it since we've seen it, because obviously we love Dead by Daylight so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know too much about it, but as soon as it comes out, it is a day one for me. The casting of Frank Stone. I think it's going to be sick.
Great choice, Spence. Great choice. And you haven't taken either of my two choices, so I'm really grateful to that one. What about yourself, Mr. Hoy? Are you going to steal some of my babies? Let's see what you got.
I've just got to echo your thoughts on that. Great choices, Spence, because I did get a little nervous when you were talking about your non-indie. I was thinking, oh, he's going to pick it, and I haven't got a backup here. I haven't done my research for another game. I've got what I want to say about the two that I've picked out, but if you had picked them, I think I would have been a little bit scrambled and trying to look around Google quite quickly for an answer, but you haven't, so take a deep breath. So my indie, Maloon, to answer your question, that I'm really looking forward to, and unfortunately there's no release date, so fingers crossed it does actually come out this year, is a game called Astral Rot. We saw a trailer back at the Game Awards for this, and it definitely perked my interest. So Astral Rot is a fixed camera survival horror sci-fi game, okay? So tick, tick, tick. And it's a game created by the co-creators of Tormented Soul, a game David reviewed on his channel, and I bought with the best intentions and I haven't played yet, but it did look very, very good, okay? In this game, you play a guy called Adler, a space mining engineer that has to come up against impossible choices to be able to save his brother and anyone else in the asteroid that hasn't been infected by the Stardust disease.
Nice.
I don't know who writes these things, but they've sold it to me. If it wasn't the fixed camera survival horror, I think the rest of that paragraph there probably would have lost me. But having seen that trailer and having the love that I have for the OG Resident Evils 1, 2, and 3, this just speaks to me on so many levels.
Resident Evil.
Oh, he was walking
He's
the
done
line.
it.
It's
He's done
hard.
it.
It's
Oh.
hard on these.
It is very
survival
hard.
horror, it's difficult.
So hard. It's so hard not to reference that game because we love it so much. But anyway, we haven't got many shots in the talk, so
No.
I'm happy to take one or two. Anyway, that's my indie for now. For my non-indie, the game that I'm most interested in, purely because of the amount of tweets that I see every single day, and I'm almost embarrassed when people see what I'm looking at on my phone. I have to scroll up quite quickly just so I don't get those weird looks when I'm at the gym. I'm talking about Stellar Blade. Now, this is an upcoming action-adventure game by Upshift, and it's published by Sony, so, we'll see what happens with that. The game is scheduled for release PlayStation 5 on April 26th this year. Okay, guys? So, everything that's coming up, it looks good. There was a demo that got like shadow dropped by accident the other day, and I scrambled to download it, and by the time that I'd got on my PlayStation and cleared my plate for all the things I was doing, it had already been taken off the store. So unfortunately, I didn't get any game time with Eve, but the stuff I've been seeing is just whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know how I'm going to get away with playing this game, but I'm going to, and I'll leave it there.
It's one of those times you could justify having a PlayStation Portal, isn't it? Because then
Yes.
at least you can just hide.
Yeah.
It's one of the only times I'll
Yeah.
give the PS Portal some love. It's playing that game. Because, yeah, I think my missus is quite happy, me staring and oogling at Tifa. But, putting the skin suit on Eve I think that's a bridge too far. So, as we said before, I'm going to put her in the, put her in a hijab or something. Just package her up. I don't need to see. And it better be a 5-star armor. That's all I'm saying. But no, great choices, especially Astrorot. Astrorot was a game that, when that got announced, we went nuts. And I mean, especially me, like, I'm a huge Tormented Souls fan. I absolutely adore the first game. And so to see a co-creator go off and spin off and make this game, sci-fi always gets my dick hard. I love it so much. I love, like Dead Space is one of my favorite survival horrors of all time. And so to have that, but in like a classic game that can't be mentioned style, hype. And they got the chops for it because Tormented Souls 1 kicked so much ass. So yeah, super, super in for it. And of course, Stellar Blade, Jesus Christ, a game that I've been gushing for literally like a year and a half talking about. Can't wait for it. It's coming soon. And that's the only thing. Got to get Final Fantasy done before then. So fingers crossed, see how that goes. But Spence, you haven't been around to talk about Eve as much as you probably should have. So have you got anything you want to share? Oh yeah, Mrs. is in.
No,
Safe
mate,
not to, mate. So safe not to. Yeah.
I was wondering why he wasn't joining in on that conversation, and I noticed something move behind him.
He's a smart man. This is the way Spence is acting right now is the way that we'll all have to act when we get the game in our hands, right? So this is the way. So Spence is perfecting it now, so that when April comes round, he's already got a game plan in motion. Very smart, Spencer. Well, for me, guys, I got 2 games to bring to the table, and we talked about Astral Rot. Well, my indie is going to be Tormented Souls 2. So again, it's being published by P-Cube and being made by Dual Effect, the same guys who made the original game. And the synopsis for this, for those who don't know, is Caroline Walker is back in an award-winning classic survival horror sequel. Explore eerie monasteries and other nightmarish locations. Brace yourself. Confront terrifying creatures armed only with makeshift weapons as you desperately try to rescue your cursed sister. Ooh. Now, the first Tormented Souls, we've already spoken a little bit about it here. One of the best games. I think I put it in my top 5, I think, when we did we might have even done a top 10 back then. I think it was our first ever Game of the Year awards, and it went on for like fucking hours, so we kind of cut that list down now. But it certainly made my top 10, that's for damn sure. And it was just so well done. And especially for like a tiny, tiny team, to be able to go in and make such a well-crafted survival horror experience that pays homage to the likes of the game that can't be mentioned in Silent Hill, and of course Alone in the Dark, in everything it does, it competed with the big boys as a tiny little team. So I'm really looking forward to see what lessons they learned from Tormented Souls 1 and bring into number 2. So keep an eye on that. It's coming out this year, no release date yet, but honestly, when that game comes out, it's going to be huge for survival horror nuts like us on the show. So really excited for that. And of course, there's one other big game this year. The game that I can't stop fucking spewing loads of spunk everywhere as soon as I think about it. And it's Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Coming out this year, baby. It's going to be the fucking game of games. We've already had Helldivers. That's the only other game this year that could potentially bin off Helldivers for a while, is Sparking Zero. I cannot wait to sit there and burn through so many fucking analog sticks as I try to battle against Spencer, who for some reason was born with the mashing capability like no other man is. So I cannot wait to dive into that game. That is, of course, this year. So another amazing year for video gaming. Of course, rip Akira Toriyama. Guys, any thoughts on my games I brought to the table before we move it on to the final listener question?
did that game not get cut by Bandai Namco's, we're going to cut back the workforce? Is that still on? I thought that was a little bit in question.
No, I think that one's still on. I think the ones that they'd be daft if they cut a DBZ game because they sell gangbusters every single time. The ones that they'd be wanting to cut would be like the arena fighting games, like, some shitty ass, I don't know, fucking Naruto game or whatever. Like they don't sell anywhere near the level of like a DBZ one.
So Dragon Ball Z's okay, but Naruto's out. That's what you're telling me.
Naruto's in the bin, mate. Yeah, Naruto's in the bin. But DBZ's,
Wow.
if that game's cancelled, then fucking hell. Oh my god, my year's thrown into disarray. So I hope to God that's not the case, but I'm going on the basis that I haven't heard it's cancelled, so I'm hoping for the best.
Nothing was confirmed in that Japanese press release, was it? But, my Japanese is a bit loose, so maybe I'll get Spencer, because I know you do a bit of Japanese on the Duolingo as well, Spence. You'll have to reread that press release just to see if Dragon Ball Z's in there for Davey, because it is a strong possibility that they may have cut back or sort of delayed that game, so it might not even come out this year, but we'll have to wait and see. But good choices, Davey. Really like the Tormented Souls 2 one, but I really need to play Tormented Souls 1. But there is a lot of games I really need to play. But that's in my back catalogue. It's sat up on my shelf ready to go when I get the time. But unfortunately, Helldivers is in my life. And that's my excuse, my running excuse at the moment.
Exactly what you've just said. Exact same for me. I'm still yet to play Tormented Souls 1. Super hyped for it. Super hyped for 2. Helldivers, man. Like, when's it going to happen, Probably closer to the release date of 2, if at all. I mean, I still haven't gone back to FF7 Part 1, which I wanted to do before Rebirth, and Rebirth's already out. So it's a bit of a nightmare. But Sparking Zero, mate. You're getting cooked. You're going to get cooked. And I don't think it's cancelled. I'm pretty sure we saw cutscenes from it leaked the other day, or were posted the other day. And they looked really sick. Like, I think Vegeta gets blasted into a mountain and he bursts out of it, like increasing his power level. Like he goes purple. Oh, it's nuts. Bro, that game's going to be sick. And I think it's definitely coming out this year.
Oh, hope to God. Hope to God. Can't wait. And yeah, my tactic's going to be, Spence, basically, that I'm just never going to fire a blast that can be...
A blast, yeah.
I'm just never going to fire a blast that can then be competed against. So in the old games, there were certain attacks that you couldn't fire, like you couldn't deflect or you couldn't do anything about. So I'll just stick to those. So like with Margin Vegeta, we had this like, I can't remember what it's called now, like Shining Impact or something. And it was just this really fast blast. And I just put everything into that because I knew I'd lose every single beam battle. So I'd never want to throw something that could get returned to me because it always would. So therefore, Kamehameha is not in my vocabulary when I play against you, my friend. But we shall cross that bridge when we get there later this year, hopefully.